Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to what could be, or we hope to be, the first of many S.I.L Weekly roundups. The show that hopefully will take a closer look at the S.I.L action from the weekend just gone, or the weekends to come, and look at what's going on around the county. We thought we'd start with our own manager. Obviously, this is the Trimley Red Devils YouTube page, so we thought we'd start with our own manager in Craig, but we do hope to get, I am hoping to be joined by a co-host or two as the show evolves and goes forward, or maybe it will just be myself. I do not know yet. It's all moving parts, but I am hoping to get a manager on, maybe some players, who knows, as we go, and try and just focus on the senior and then the first division and other leagues around the county with whatever manager or player is on with me at the time. So if you're somebody sat at home today watching live or watching on catch up that is a fan of S.I.L, plays S.I.L, manages in the S.I.L, and you think, you know what, I want to fancy going on there and talk about my football club, then please do let me know. You can find me on Twitter or contact Trimley Red Devils' social media or email, and we can work that out as we go. Don't forget, if you're new, hit subscribe. We want to keep growing the Trimley platform, the Trimley YouTube. I only lived there for what, most of my life, if not all my life, so I should be able to say the name by now. But as I said, I am joined this week, our first show, by manager Craig Chidlow. Craig, we have spoken before. I'm always happier when I see somebody else on a screen with me. How are you, first of all?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, very good. Especially after Saturday's win. Yeah, very good.
This is it. Very on a Monday after a win. Very good. You should be over the moon, particularly as not just Trimley, but your Man United one as well.
Yes, yeah. They've suddenly started to look good, but I think they've been a little bit lucky as well. So I'm not going to get too excited about it.
Okay, I want to ask you the question. It's going to, it'll divide people, but I'll ask you the question anyway. Ødegaard, was it a foul? Wasn't it a foul from your perspective?
At the time, I thought it was a foul. I do think it's a foul, but I don't think it should have been overturned because I don't think it's clear cut and obvious, and that's the honest truth. They go to VAR too often, so yeah, it's got to be clear and obvious, and that wasn't, as polls have shown.
Good man, I like that honest. That's an honest assessment from a Man United fan as well. You know, I thought at the time it wasn't a foul, and I still think it wasn't a foul now. It's football, it's contact sport. Let's get on with it. But
it was very soft.
Yeah, and you're right. It wasn't clear and obvious, which I thought was what VAR was meant to be there for. You know, a clear and obvious error by the referee. It's almost like they're refereeing the games for the referee.
But with the other two terrible decisions over the weekend as well, that made ours look like a good one.
Yeah. It wasn't a great weekend for VAR in the slightest, but it was a great weekend for Trimley Red Devils. We recorded our first win of the campaign, 2-0. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, we've played well first 3 games of the season, really, and felt we probably should have won them all. But, you know, football's not that easy. You have to take your chances. And on Saturday we did. I mean, again, we missed 2 gilt-edged chances in the first half, but we still went in 2-0 at half-time. Bildeston didn't really test us too much, if I'm honest. They had a couple of good chances in the second half. They came into it more in the second half, to be fair. They only had the 1 sub. We only had 2, but they seemed fitter overall in those. I'd give them that. And the second half it became a big scrap, really, which probably notorious against Bildeston. You've got to fight and scrap to get a result out of them. We still missed the best chance the second half, though, 1v1, which looked easy. But yeah, no, I was really pleased with the 2-0. Possibly should have been 3 or 4.
Absolutely. Bildeston obviously sitting currently in 13th place, 3 have lost all 3 of their opening games. But 2-0 at half time is not a place you were perhaps comfortable with, because the week before you're 2-0 up at half time. And I'm thinking, I'm editing the match day highlights and I'm thinking 2-0 at half time. Well, happy days. This is going to be, you know, hopefully my first win that I can put together as a highlight package. And well, it didn't quite go to plan, did it?
Craig? Yeah, I mean, firstly, you mentioned Bildeston. I mean, their first 2, they've lost 3 out of 3, but their first 2 against Ransoms and Henley. So probably the 2 favourites for the league.
Henley leading the pack, so absolutely.
Exactly. So we went into the game knowing it's not, no game's easy anyway in this league, but
No.
but the Westerfield game again, you know, bit similar to Bildeston. We should have been 3 or 4-0 up at half time. Second half, we let them get back in. They brought a young striker on. I think he's missed all the pre-season, but that was his first game, and he came on at half time, and he caused us a few problems, and he got the first goal. So fair dues to him. Second goal, element of luck about it. I think an own goal. But again, very, very disappointed not to win that game. But the second half, yeah, a lot more even than the first half. So yeah, very disappointed indeed. Whereas the Wickham Market game, that was a lot tighter. Again, we missed the better chances. Any neutral watching would have said a draw is a fair result. Their manager said that to us. I agreed with him, but deep down, I felt we should have won that as well.
Of course, because it's your club.
Us managers are a bit like that.
Absolutely, of course. You always think that as a manager, you should have won, or you're unlucky not to win, etc. But yeah, it's your first win this weekend. I'm looking forward to putting the match day package together, then following that 2-0. But at half time, does last week sort of creep into to your team talk?
Definitely, yeah. That was the halftime team talk. Whether that's right or not, to think of go back and look at a negative at half time, but I had to make them aware that, you know, we were 2-0 up against Westerfield at half time, and we're going to have to battle like mad and make this a hard game for them to get back into. No easy goals, unlike the Westerfield game, although, you know, Westerfield's first goal was a good goal by that young striker, but it was really the first time this season we've actually switched off and let a ball over the top do us, and he went through and put it away nicely. So we were a bit disappointed with that goal, to be fair.
Yeah, but the first goal, as you mentioned, was a great goal. I've been, you know, as I say, been putting these highlight packages together, and some of the goals have been just absolutely outstanding. The one in pre-season from a rocket against Needham, I think it was Needham from memory.
Yes,
Lord, you will not see a better goal anywhere up and down the pyramid.
Yeah, great player, him. Unfortunately, we've lost him since that game. He's gone to Ipswich. He's gone to Ipswich Wanderers.
I saw the highlight.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't, you know, a young player, 21 years old, going off to a club like that's great for me. In my opinion, I'm quite happy with that. Oh, it's not nice to lose him, but it's good for him that, you know, I took him in, had him last season, brought him in from Woodbridge. He'd had a few problems at Woodbridge with his knee and stuff. I think he got his confidence back, scored some cracking goals. Ipswich Wanderers manager contacted me about that, and I gave him the truth, told him everything I thought about him, and yeah, off he went. And he started every game for them since and been scoring.
It's never nice to lose a player. You're absolutely right. But do you think that's actually quite a good tool or a good thing to have when speaking to, you know, potential new players when they arrive? You know, that you've got this pathway that, you know, you can progress into a club like Ipswich Wanderers, for example. You know.
Definitely. I mean, I'll say to any young player, you know, that S.I.L Senior is the place to show yourself, if you like. What you find, my experience of young players, if they go to these big clubs, they do tend to sit on the bench. You know, the older players will generally play. The ones who are perhaps getting paid more money, managers don't tend to want to upset them. Whether the young players deserve to sit on the bench or not, I think they generally find that they do. We've got a player playing for me now who's been sitting on Hadley's first team bench for 2 or 3 years. He's come over to us. He's really enjoying his football. Scored a goal on Saturday. Probably should have had a couple more if he's honest, but he doesn't normally play up front, but must at the moment for me. I've lost 4 strikers out of the 5 that I had last year.
4 out of 5. I mean, how do you deal with that?
Those 4 strikers out of my top 5 goal scorers, we scored 90 goals last season. Those 4 strikers between them scored 48 of those goals. 48 of those goals. So, yeah.
Wow.
But having said that, it's given me an opportunity to play more young players that were sort of in between the first team and the reserves last year, but they've come into the first team all pre-season now, and they've really raised their game. And that's why it's so important to have a reserve team, of course. So you can bring people through like that. And they've done really well. I mean, I lost 9 first team squad members, the 4 strikers and 5 others from my 21-man squad from last year. I've only brought in 2 very good players, and the rest are reserves that have come up. Well, they weren't reserves. They sort of flirted between the first and the reserves last year, but they've come up and they're doing excellent work for me now.
Wow. So again, that development, that from the reserve to the first team to flirting in between, it's all progress in the right direction if you're a player. But losing that many, number of goals from the squad is never easy at any team at any level. And Ben Moore says the gap between the S.I.L and Thurlow isn't as big as what people say. There are some very good players in the S.I.L.
Yes, and going back to what you asked me, they can showcase themselves in the S.I.L Senior. They can get lots of football. They can get game time. They should be getting game time if they're good enough anyway. That's my point. You shouldn't, if a young player comes into the team at Trimley and an experienced player isn't available and that player plays well, then I won't bring that experienced player back. It's, I try to be as fair as I can. If somebody plays well, they stay in the team. But yeah, I mean, my own son went off to a couple of Thurlow Nunn teams, sat on the bench and ended up coming back. That was before I took over here. And a lot of players don't like all the travelling for Thurlow Nunn. And as Ben says, there's not a lot of difference anyway, as the Senior Cup results show during the season.
Absolutely. How is the squad looking now, Craig? Because last time we spoke, you were sort of canvassing if anyone was because Gary Goals was available.
Yeah, I mean, needs must. I had my captain, Sam, playing up front, up the middle on Saturday because I don't have enough strikers at the end of the day. The other striker sort of broke his hand, cracked his hand a couple of weeks ago, so he weren't available. I've got another guy who's pre-season, a very good player. I don't know if I should name names or not, but anyway, I won't. But yeah, he's picked up a knee injury and he's not available for God knows how long. Quite a bad injury, although he's hoping it's not as bad as he thought. Then I've got another one of my top players, probably the next top goal scorer actually, who's been in America for the last X amount of weeks coaching over there. He's coming back towards the end of September, so hopefully we can add him and kick on from there.
Absolutely. Wow. In America coaching, that must be quite the experience. Tony Stone says, good to hear a real football man like Craig's opinion. Thank
you, Tony.
There you go. Absolutely. So that's Trimley. 3 games in. We'll talk about Claydon on the horizon up next, but just thought I'd look at some of the weekend's results, Craig, with you and see what you thought. What sort of jumps out at you, if that's okay with yourself, because there were some good results over the weekend. There was 29 goals in total. Is the S.I.L this year more competitive in your opinion? Is it perhaps the same? How is it looking league-wide at the moment?
I said it before. This league is such a tough league. The bottom teams can always take points off the top teams. It's always been like that. And I played most of my football at S.I.L Senior, to be honest, and it was exactly the same then. Yeah, the bottom teams could always beat the top teams, and it's the same now. It's really, really competitive. You can't go into any game thinking it's going to be easy. I mean, you look at the squads, and Ransoms and Henley are probably the 2 favourites to win the league. Maybe Hellsworth as well. Maybe Claydon. I don't know about Claydon. I think they've lost some players from last year, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But those teams know that when they play whoever's at the bottom of the league, they know they're not going to get an easy game, and you've got to be up for every game. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some of the results on the screen right now. I'll just put the full screen up and try and make it a little larger for you guys and girls at home. But there are the results from the weekend. Immediately I say what jumps out. I guess you've got Hellsworth winning 6-0 there. Big home win.
Yeah, Hellsworth are definitely going to be up there fighting for a top spot and the cups. I mean, they won a cup last year, the League Cup.
Yep.
East Burgo, I think, from what I've heard, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I've heard they've lost a few good players from last year. So maybe they are going to struggle this year. I don't know. And the last 2 results have been quite heavy defeats, 4-0 and 6-0, I believe. So yeah, definitely that was one. And just to reiterate my point there, Leiston last year, struggled near the bottom most of the season. Admittedly, they picked up after a disastrous start, but Ransoms there have, only just beaten them 3-2. So that
Pushed
just
all the way,
reiterates my point about how difficult it is. Westerfield Sporting, I don't know too much about Sporting, but I've heard that they are expecting them to be very strong this year from things that I've heard. So that's a great result for Westerfield, 4-2. Henley 3, Claydon 0. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really surprise me from what I've said. Again, I think Claydon have lost some players, but I know they're going to be very strong, as every team is this year. So it's.
I think that's what draws people in, though, isn't it, Craig? That ability that any team can beat any team on any given Saturday, and it's a really competitive league. And if you've not got something to do on a Saturday afternoon, if the team you support is not on Sky or not on Putman Road or wherever, just head almost to your local park, because you're going to see 9 times out of 10 a really good competitive game of football.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, I mean, my parents live overseas, although they're about to move back here at the end of September. But whenever they come over and they come and watch, they're really surprised at the standard of football and how good it is. And yeah, forgot what I was going to say there. What were you saying?
Well, just the competitive. Yeah, the standard. Yeah. I know when you see match highlight video packages from people such as obviously DJam, who does match highlight packages, or certainly used to. I've done 1 or 2 myself in the pub. Whenever you see whoever it is do a match day highlight package, the standard of the quality you watch is it blows you away at times. Like I said, that goal earlier,
and in the current climate where money's going to start getting a lot tighter for everybody, you don't have to pay to go and watch an S.I.L Senior game. So bear that in mind, people.
This is it. Ben Moore says big win for Hawley against Old Newton. Obviously, Hawley there 3-1 away. Say away. Old Newton Hawley are, not a million miles away from each other. So it's not like an away game. But
that was bigged up as a big local derby, to be fair. And I mean,
get the flares out, the pyros.
If I had to predict that game, I probably would have gone a draw, because I would have no idea who would have won it. Because both teams were very good last year. I think they both finished mid-table. Hawley last year was our bogey team. I don't think we had a bad game last year, apart from the 2 we played against them, and perhaps that's just the way they played against us that made us have a bad game. But that was the only 2 results last year that I felt we just weren't at the races today.
Hawley are currently leading the pack, having played 4 games. When as a manager do you start looking at a league table? When do you start, in the old days, just appear in the back of the green and see what's going on?
Yeah, in them days you couldn't even see the table till a week after the Saturday games.
The write-ups and everything. The
following Saturday night, you didn't even know the scores. But
that's very true.
Basically, if I win the first game or 2, I'm looking at it straight away, to be fair. If I lose the first game or 2, I'm not looking at it until I start winning. So a little bit like that, to be fair. But I think it's nice to have the tables out early. I probably do look at them nice and early every year, no matter how we're doing anyway. So I like it. I like an early table.
Absolutely, yeah. Is that for those that perhaps are not, acquainted with their local team, with their S.I.L knowledge, and is that how you really sort of start to gauge who's lost, too many quality players, who hasn't, or what the situation is? Because obviously it changes. So, is that fair to say it changes quite quickly, the landscape in S.I.L?
Yes, definitely. I mean, every week. Last year, I mean, like I said, I had a 21-man squad last year, and every week I never put the same team out. People were away. I spoke about it. I think COVID had an impact on that, because you had the problem with COVID, but then people hadn't been on holiday for 2 years. They wanted to go away with their families. They wanted to go away with their mates for weekends, and that was happening to us every week last year. And it was just non-stop changes, 2 or 3 changes every week. Pre-season's exactly the same. It's always the same every year doing that. But this season, exactly that. Who knows? I mean, I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think Bildeston were at their strongest on Saturday. I think they had a couple of players missing, although they still had some very good players in there. So, you just don't know. And, I mean, on Saturday, I felt we we deserved to win that quite easily, but the previous 2 results prove that that they're a hard team to beat. So yeah, they may have had a weaker team against us and I think they might have done. East Bergholt, as you say, I mean, I think they have lost players. You would never have seen East Bergholt. I'm sure if East Bergholt have got all their players they had last year, they don't lose 6-0 and 4-0, because you don't tend to get them sort of scores unless it's a bit of a freak at this level. I don't think.
Absolutely. There is your early sort of league table, where, I say we, obviously Trimley are currently sat, just neatly in that 7th position under Westerfield, above Wycombe. Obviously Westerfield a couple of years ago, Craig, were rooted to the bottom for a long time. So that shows itself how quickly the landscape, and obviously Potsy, who's now your number 2, was manager there for a while. So that shows that the landscape can change in the S.I.L and how quickly it does.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, again, talking about Thurlow Nunn, you get players dropping down quite every so often because they don't want all the travelling. So suddenly they might decide they don't want that for, they might not have been on that much money or whatever. So, and there are players that are dual signed as well. So if Thurlow Nunn don't have a game, you might find 1 or 2 of their players playing for an S.I.L Senior team.
Yeah,
not sure that's how things should be exactly personally, but that's just the way things are. I think, if you've got a squad, you tend to want to stick with that squad for the season, but come what may, rather than bringing people in just for the odd game. But that's
different managers, different strokes, different folks. Yeah,
exactly. If you're going for a league, you're definitely going to do it, I suppose. If you're a mid-table team, then why do you need to? But last year, looking at that table, I wanted to finish top 6 last year and then push on for the league this year. And we finished 6th last year. The last 10 games of the season was a bit of a disaster. We played the last 11 games in a 35-day period due to all the call-offs, and we had to fit them all in. And we picked up a lot of injuries. The midweek games, we were missing players. So the ending wasn't great, and we ended up 6th, whereas with 10 games to go, we were looking like 2nd or 3rd. And this year, it's a little bit of a transitional period for Trimley because, as I said, I've lost 9 of my squad. I've only gained 2 good players. Having said that, of those 2, only 1 of them played on Saturday, and neither of them played the first 2 games because they're on holiday and away. But I say it's a transitional period, but the way we've started has really pleased me. I was a little bit worried, but like I said, the reserve players that have come in, the fringe players, they've done excellent. And the 3 games we've played, a bit disappointed we haven't ended up with 9 points. That's not how football works, so I appreciate that. But really pleased with the way it's. So I'm really quite hopeful that we're going to have a good season.
Absolutely. It's not like that's not how football works. I like that. You wanted 9, but it's not. You don't always get what you deserve, or you don't always end up with what you think you deserve.
No.
And looking at the highlights, there was certainly some good chances for both sides, and it's a really tough situation, putting the match day highlight packages together, because both teams over the course of the first 3 games have 3 games have had some delightful chances. You're like, if some games, Craig, I could have had a sort of half an hour highlight reel. It was, literally that end to end, that good. So, absolutely, if you're staying at home,
I mean, it's good. What I like about the highlights that you do, and that is that we do show most goalmouth incidents, chances that are created. So we're not biased in any way. We don't only show ours. We're showing everything just to be fair, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And
show a true reflection of the game.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And we hope, and I certainly hope, this show itself will take on that own independent sort of flow when we get other managers, players, fans on to discuss their football teams. But we just felt obviously the most natural point to start on Trimley's YouTube channel would be with the Trimley managers. The most natural sort of get it off the ground, get host guest in the world. So
yeah. Hopefully it will kick off and you'll get plenty of other managers or players, as you say, or assistant managers. That if somebody's fans, not, whatever. If somebody doesn't, whatever. Hopefully you'll get people happy to come on and talk about the S.I.L Senior, because the more coverage it gets, the better. It's that Lace and St Margaret's have also got a video camera now. There's not very many teams that do, and they've started putting their highlights on the YouTube. So that's got to be a good thing.
Exactly. The more action you get on YouTube, from the S.I.L, the better. Now, this weekend, let's as we round up our show, we'll try and keep these shows every week to 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Hopefully, as I say, we'll get managers on, players, fans, etc. And we'll try and split the focus from week to week, from the senior to a bit of the senior in the first, or whatever it might be, wherever it might take us. But it won't just predominantly feature just the senior. So if you're a fan of a team or part of a club in another division of the S.I.L, then don't fear. We are going to focus you on other weeks. But as we close this sort of pilot, this episode 1, if you like, whatever you want to call it, you got Claydon this weekend. Claydon, notoriously, as a fan of the S.I.L, a strong team, a team that are always inside, normally the top half, if not the top 4. You mentioned they may have lost a couple of players, but how are you feeling heading into Claydon? What are your expectations of the weekend to come?
It's going to be a battle. It always is against them. It's quite fiery. Both my boys are prepared to fight and battle and get stuck in. Claydon, I know for definite, that sort of team. I think the last 4 games, there's been 3 games where we've had sending offs. So I don't think there might not even have been a game out of those last 4 games, last 2 seasons, where we haven't had at least one sending off.
Wow.
So it can be quite fiery. So but again, it's difficult because I think they are definitely missing 1 or 2 players from last year. But then I looked at their team sheet this week, and they have got still a lot of good players there. So it's definitely going to be hopefully a good, tight, competitive game. I think I said that before when we went over to S.I.L for a friendly, and we ended up getting battered. But I do hasten to add that we literally had 11 players that day, and literally a lot missing, a lot of good players, all the key players missing that day. But I didn't realise that when I predicted a close, tight game.
No, we did one of these. We did a manager chat, which obviously we'll do from time to time on the channel. So do hit that subscribe button. And you did say it would be, you expect the tight, cagey affair. And then when I got the highlights through, it was anything but. But that shows our that shows the fairness of the football club, Craig, because we stuck the highlights up.
Yeah, and
we got
I probably should have called the game off the night before, but I thought, no, I'm going to go over there with the 11. 12. I managed to get another player from somewhere for a sub the next day, but after the game, I thought that's one game I probably should have called off, knowing the team I was going out there with. But
you live, you learn, and the players would have lived and learned through it as well, which is the most important. Exactly. It was a pre-season friendly. It wasn't too bad. If you want to know what the score was, from the video.
I hate letting teams down, especially even in pre-season friendlies. It's not nice. It happens a lot. It's happened to us. I don't think we've ever actually done it last 2 years, and every pre-season it is a nightmare. I mean, I think I've learned this year. I won't have so many next year.
Well, we did speak about the way you structured your pre-season last time, but everyone's different, and you're always evolving as a coach, aren't you? That's the most important thing.
Always learning. Yeah, just players. No, hopefully players realise they've got to learn and never stop learning. Professionals have got to do the same. But as managers, we're definitely the same. Definitely learning all the time.
Absolutely. So I won't ask you for any type of score prediction or anything. You've said it'll be tight. You're expecting a passionate, fiery encounter, whatever the score. Good luck on Saturday. Thank you for joining me for episode 1.
Thank you.
Do I dare ask? No. What's your expectation for this season? Do I dare ask that? Am I going to ask that? Have I just asked that?
Well, I think I sort of said it.
You don't have to answer it. Don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
No. Well, every season I have an aim and a goal, and last year was top 6. And with the players I've lost, I was a little bit concerned. I think perhaps I've got to say, hopefully top 6 again this year. It is a bit of a transitional period. We are a little bit light in terms of numbers, especially for both teams. The reserves were very threadbare at the moment. So if we start picking up injuries and illnesses, suspensions, which always happens, then it could become a bit harder. But like I say, we're already missing 2 of our top players who haven't been available all season, all pre-season. And so when they're back, we may be a bit stronger as well. But if Gary Goals is out there, we're still looking.
Gary Goals, we've lost your digits. Please get in touch. Love it. Episode 1 in the can. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let us know what you enjoyed what you want more of, what you want to see as a part of the evolving journey of this show. And look out, Wednesday, 7:30. We've got the match day highlights from this weekend's 2-0 win over Bildeston. Craig, thank you so much for joining me. I'll let you get back to your evening. And for those watching at home, subscribe, like, and we'll see you all very soon.